what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. I flippin' realized, guys, that I have a lot of beginner plant people on my channel and I've never made just like a straight up first plant, what do I do, what is this, what did I get myself into video. So today I just wanted to go over the super basics. There's dirt all over me. That's part of the life, it's just dirt everywhere. If you're confused about how to take care of your plant, that's what I'm gonna go over today. And I'm gonna go over things you should do before you get a plant, but if you already impulsively bought a plant, which I understand, I do that a lot, we're gonna go over what to do with that too, okay? So I hope this video is helpful and let's just do it. Lesson number 1, lighting. Lighting is everything for plants. It is what feeds their souls. Look at that soul. That soul needs light. You can always just hold the plant right here by the window yourself. That's another good technique. Just all day, don't move because the plant will notice and you just shouldn't move, so. Just kidding, don't do that. The first thing you wanna do is you wanna check your windows, see what direction they're facing, because if you're looking out your window and you're like, I don't know where the sun is, what direction, like why does that matter? Let me explain to you why it does. The first thing you want to do is, like, you know what a compass is? This is literally the only reason I ever use a compass, is to analyze what the best lighting is for my plants. So if you have an iPhone, there is an app, a compass app, that I'm sure you're aware, but I don't know, like some people might not be. So all you have to do is point your phone towards your window and it'll tell you exactly what direction, north, south, east, west, what direction it is facing. So mine are a southwestern exposure. That is pretty bright, pretty gosh darn hot as well. I am well aware of that. That's why I'm like sweaty all the time in my videos. So if you have an eastern exposure, that's great, because that is the softest light you can get for your plants, because it's the morning, the sun hasn't fully saturated yet the earth, so it's not quite as hot. So east facing is great for almost all plants. I think all plants will get sufficient light from eastern exposure, even direct light hitting their leaves. So east is great. North facing window is the lowest light possible. So north is generally, you know, what you would put like an ivy plant in. I know orchids do pretty well in north facing windows as well. North isn't bad, but it's definitely the lowest light. So you want to get a lower light plant if you have northern exposures. And then western is also good, but it's a little more intense because the sun has had an opportunity to really saturate the earth and build up the heat in the rays, so just like really melts your mind. Western exposure is great. Most plants can survive in that just fine. Just make sure that the sun isn't directly hitting the leaves of more fragile plants, because it is hotter sunlight. The last exposure is southern. South is great for all plants, but it can be intense because that is the exposure that gives the most consistent light throughout the whole day. And the light can be very hot. So if you have a southern exposure, don't put your plant directly in the window. It can be a little much. So you want to put it about a foot away and then inch it closer if you feel like your plant needs more light, if it's like leaning towards it or something, then you can put it closer, but do it with ease. Let the plant talk to you first. But if you have a mix of any of those, just kind of combine those descriptions that I gave and just kind of feel it out. Test your plant, always test your plant in different windows if you have different exposures throughout your home. I only have one because my apartment is weird. Just a whole wall of windows and that's it. But if you have trees outside that are blocking some of that light from coming in, that can also be in your favor. It can soften the intensity a little bit. So that's why light is essential. And just use the compass app. I feel like it's definitely wrong sometimes, because one time it told me my window was north facing and I'm like, that's not north. So you can test it out a few times just to like triple confirm, you know what I'm saying? So you impulsively got your plant and you have no idea what the gosh darn heck it is. There are some things you can do. You can just Google houseplants in Google until you find something that look similar, and then you just do like a rabbit hole and find the Latin name and then, you know, identify by a picture and stuff like that. Or there are apps you can use, I think, where you can take a picture of them and upload it into the app, and then it identifies it for you. Those are the best options, but obviously you want to ask your local nursery or wherever you get the plant, you want to ask the employee what the name is if it's not on the pot. Do your research and find out what light it prefers. I think most plants can survive in brighter light, but just make sure it's not in direct sun. So for watering your plants, I know this can seem a little scary, and it is. Most plants in general, you just want to put your finger in the soil about an inch deep, and if it's totally bone dry, then it's time to water again. And that pretty much applies to every plant. There are some that require a little more soaking and more frequent waterings. Some ferns prefer to be regularly moist all the time, so those you want to be careful. I wouldn't recommend ferns for like a first timer, that's for sure. I know they look pretty, but just walk away. Just keep walking. Don't ever look back. They're tricky. They're tricky. We have a history, ferns and I. You know, you want to start feeling like, pick up your plant and feel it, the weight of it, and when it feels really light, like you're like, whoa, oh my god, it's so light. Then you know for sure that it needs water because the soil is really dry and light and dried out. I don't know. That's the only word, dry. It's just dry. So when you first bring your plant home, I know it can be tempting to just transplant it into a new cute pot. I would wait at least 2 weeks or so before you repot it when you first bring it home, because you're already creating a huge adjustment for the plant, changing its environment like that, and then repotting it on top of changing the environment can sometimes startle some more fragile plants. So I would recommend pretty much across the board, just wait 2 weeks, let the plant settle in, and then you can repot your plant into a cuter pot. And I always insist you need a drainage hole. Drainage hole is a hole at the bottom of the plant where the water escapes from every time you water it. This is essential because plants that don't have a drainage hole, the water will just leak to the bottom and pool down here, and the plant's roots will most likely just be sucking up way too much water to the point where it's like they're waterlogged, and their roots will rot, and it'll rot all the way up into the plant and lead to murder, to plant murder, which I have done, believe me. I have made all the mistakes. Learn from my mistakes, please. If you bought the plant and it doesn't have drainage holes, then you will want to repot it after 2 weeks for sure, and be extra careful about how much water you give it. You don't want to just dump water in there. You want to just gently, like a teaspoon at a time, until the soil looks fully saturated and the plant perks up a little bit. The next thing I would recommend doing for your new plant that you brought home and you're a first time plant person and you're just like, what? First thing you want to do is also put top rocks on top of the soil. Like, this really, really helps retain moisture in the soil, and it also keeps bugs away. You don't know, like, you know, the nursery, they might have had a bug problem in their population. So you just want to nip it in the bud. Fill your pot with top rocks, like any color. There's some really cute ones at Home Depot. I got like a huge bag at Home Depot once, and it's lasted me years. So I literally cannot use them all. So you can just get like a 4-pound bag, or 20-pound bag? I don't know. It's heavy. It's really heavy. You just want to fill the top with rocks, and that helps keep the bugs from spawning because they live in the top like millimeter of the soil. So this really makes it difficult for them to lay their eggs and breed and stuff and like saturate in that soil. And it also helps displace water, so you're not hitting the, you know, just one area of the soil and it erodes the surface of the soil. It just helps displace water, retain moisture, and keep bugs at a minimum. So I highly recommend doing that. You know, it's your first plant, you want to take good precious care of it, so then you can just start collecting more and more and have an addiction and watch my videos. The next thing is, you might be like, oh, well, if I repot, what kind of soil do I use? Well, generally across the board, I like to recommend to mix potting mix and cactus mix, because that maintains kind of like enough moisture but enough drainage as well. You don't want to oversaturate the soil. You want them to have enough water leaking out. You want it to drain pretty quickly so that you're not oversaturating the roots and you don't get root rot and then the plant dies. So I will link those down below so you can take a look and see how you feel. But that's my general soil mixture for most of my plants. The other thing I thought of is humidity. So humidity can be a big factor in some plants. A lot of plants don't really mind. They're happy in the same amount of humidity that we're happy in, which is like kind of a big variation, but whatever. But if you have a plant that requires a lot more humidity, I use like these little diffusers and I put them next to my plants and stuff. I group them together. First of all, grouping plants together is always a good idea, but if you only have one, then yikes, you need to get more. A good thing to do is grouping plants together because they automatically release a lot of oxygen in the air and that helps enrich their air around them and helps humidify just naturally. But you can also get a little diffuser or a little humidifier and put it next to your plants just to help supplement and maximize the humidity in your area. So I'll put a link to a good one down below that I've used. I have like 3 of them. I have like 3. So it's not a problem. I mean, I'm just really humid. It's good for your skin. Okay, so those are all the tips that I can think of at the moment. Let me know if you guys have any more questions in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer more questions if you're a beginner and you're kind of like, what is happening? And I left some links down below, some products I use and stuff like that that might be helpful. But again, please leave a comment. Please subscribe if you haven't. That'd be cool. Please like if you haven't. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye!